It feels like ever since Texas Tech fired Matt Wells and hired Joey Maguire away from Baylor, they've been considered dark horse candidates for the Big 12 Conference and eventually blowing up. Well, this year, almost at the end of the season, it looks like they're going to be the favorites outright. They're 9-1 with one loss to Arizona State, and they just skull-crushed BYU, who is undefeated in second place in the conference. It looks like Texas Tech could become the premier brand in the Big 12, and to a lot of people, it seems like they've come out of nowhere, but if you're a big college football fan, you knew this was coming. Texas Tech has been waiting for their opportunity to pay for their way to be at the top of college football, and they have successfully done it. They've utilized NIL pretty much perfectly, they brought back key players, and now they have the right culture. While it took some time for it all to mesh, it seemed that Texas Tech had the perfect recipe for success, and in today's video, I want to talk about the rise of the Red Raiders. We're going to talk about the history of the program in the last couple of decades, how they got to this point, the low point with Matt Wells, and then overall my thoughts. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about the rise of Texas Tech football. Okay, so before we talk about Texas Tech this season, we have to talk about the down years that happened before, and we're going to start with the firing of Mike Leach. Coach Leach never had a losing season at Tech from 2000 to 2009, but he also never led the team to a Big 12 championship game. Because of a weird three-way tie in the Big 12 South Division in 2008, Texas Tech got locked out of playing in the Big 12 title game despite going 11-2. After the 2008 season, some incidents happened with a running back, and this led to Tech firing him. It's a deep discussion and a sore subject amongst some Tech fans, but there was a lot of controversy over the firing and whether it was a good idea. Well, strictly football speaking, afterwards it was a disaster for Texas Tech, and some would say it was a horrible idea. They ended up hiring Tommy Tuberville to lead the team in 2010, and if that name sounds familiar to some of you, he was not only the coach at Auburn, but also he was at Cincinnati and is now a senator for the state of Alabama. All in all, he's had a pretty crazy career. He wasn't an awful coach, but he also was winning with a lot of Coach Leach's players. He went 8-5 in his first season in 2010, and then sank down to 5-7 the next year before bringing the team back to 8-5 in 2012. He willingly resigned from Texas Tech to go coach at Cincy, and the Red Raiders ended up elevating former A&M offensive coordinator and Red Raider quarterback Cliff Kingsbury. This would happen back in 2013, and he had just come off of coaching Johnny Manziel at A&M, and he was an alum, and there was a lot of hope that he could have success at Texas Tech. He did at least at first, as he went 8-5 in 2013, but he was never able to crack any higher than 5th place during his time there. In 2016 and 17, he was able to play a quarterback by the name of Patrick Mahomes, and we all know that Mahomes became one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but the teams at Tech were so reliant on the air raid offense that it ended up hurting them. There were multiple games where he had over 400 or 500 passing yards, but they still couldn't win. For example, in 2016, the Red Raiders had the 5th ranked offense in terms of scoring, as they had 43.5 a game, but at the same time, they allowed 44 points per game on defense, making them the worst in college football. Patrick Mahomes led the country with over 5,000 passing yards and 41 touchdowns, but they finished the year 5-7 and missed out on a bowl game. Coach Kingsbury was one of the best offensive minds in the country, and his Texas Tech team still lost because they were terrible on defense. At the end of the 2018 season, he was 35-40 as the head coach at Tech and was 1-2 in 3 bowl games over 6 years. Tech decided to make the decision to fire him and move on to another coach. They decided to replace him with Utah State head coach Matt Wells, who had been with the Aggies since 2013 and had won 44 games with them. Unfortunately, the decision to hire Wells was one of the worst ones that Tech could have made, as in just 3 seasons in Lubbock, he never had a winning season and never won more than 4 games. He was fired following a loss to K-State in 2021, where they were leading at halftime by double digits and still managed to lose. One of the biggest reasons for his firing at Tech was because they went from a school that was good at offense and bad at defense to a school that was bad at offense and also bad at defense. Texas Tech had the 16th ranked offense and the 86th ranked defense in terms of points scored for 2018, but then in 2019, they had the 53rd offense and the 84th ranked defense. The defense got worse the following year, falling to the bottom 30 in terms of points allowed, and the offense stayed roughly the same. Even with a quarterback like Tyler Shuck, he was not able to lead Texas Tech to a bowl game, and they only managed to get more than 4 wins in a season after they fired him midway through the year. Texas Tech hadn't been completely overlooked during its time in the Big 12 since they did join in 1996, but for the first time in program history, they were irrelevant in the entire conference landscape, which was a bad place to be with conference realignment ballooning. The Big 12 had gone from 10 teams to 16, and the athletics department needed to find a coach known for recruiting and developing talent, and they found that guy in Joey Maguire. Coach Maguire was a big name in the Texas high school football scene, as while he was a head coach at Cedar Hill from 2003 to 2016, he won 141-42 and led the Longhorns to 4 state championship games, winning in 2006, 2013, and 2014, before finishing as the runner-up in 2012. His team won 7 district titles, 9 by-district championships, and appeared in the playoffs in 12 straight years. He's one of the best high school coaches in the country, and Baylor head coach Matt Rhule saw the opportunity to booster his in-state recruiting by adding him to the Bears staff in 2017 as the tight ends coach. He was always a great coach, but what Maguire was really good at was networking with high school coaches in the state of Texas, and that made him very influential with recruits. He was instrumental in a lot of Baylor's recruiting efforts, and after the 2021 season, Texas Tech decided to make it official and bought him in to be their next head man. It wasn't immediate, but there was improvement made in recruiting when Texas Tech hired him to today. Their class of 2022 is ranked 46th, but their 2023 class was ranked 35th, and their 2024 class was ranked number 26. To make things even better, their 2025 class came in at number 21, but now that all the off-the-field stuff is out of the way, let's talk about Texas Tech on the field. In 2022, he brought in Western Kentucky offensive coordinator Zach Kittley to run the offense. Kittley was from the area since he was from Abilene, Texas, and he was actually an alum of Texas Tech as well. He was a grad assistant under Coach Kingsbury and actually got to coach Patrick Mahomes a little bit. That affected the offenses he ran, and when he blew up as the OC at Houston Baptist in 2020, it was because he was running a very effective air raid offense modeled after his time in Lubbock. When he returned to Tech in 2022, Coach Maguire wanted to run the same air raid style that he was known for because that had been their identity since Coach Leach. On defense, the Red Raiders had a veteran DC who had just been the defensive coordinator at Oregon. The team was predicted to finish 9th in the Big 12, but they ended up going 8-5 with big wins over Oklahoma and Texas and a win over Ole Miss in the Texas Bowl. Their offensive identity was back, and they finished 27th in points scored on offense. They opened the year in 2023 with a loss on the road to Wyoming, though, and it was a step back as a whole. The team finished at 7-6 with an Independence Bowl win over Cal, and their offense actually regressed to only scoring 28 points per game. It wasn't until 2024 that Texas Tech started to get a lot of momentum around the program. Kittley's offense was ready with a lot of players in the system, and quarterback Baron Morton went off. In 12 games, he threw for 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 8 picks, while running back Taj Brooks became a breakout offensive weapon, running for over 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns. Texas Tech wasn't normally known for elite running backs, but the team had some good ones under Matt Wells, and they didn't really utilize all that well. It was a good sign the team was actually utilizing them while running an air raid offense, and in fact, the offense in 2024 was so good that they scored nearly 38 points per game, which was good enough to be top 5 in the entire country. The bad thing about it, though, was their defense allowed 35 points per game, so they ranked 122nd in the country in points allowed, and they finished the season at 8-5 with a loss to Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. After the season was over, Zach Kittley left to become the head coach at Florida Atlantic, and Coach Maguire ended up getting a new DC. If they wanted to immediately compete for the Big 12 title, they'd have to hit on both coordinators, and it looks like they have. Maguire ended up hiring Mac Leftwich, who was the architect behind the veer and shoot offense at Texas State. He hired Coach Wood away from Houston. Off the field, though, came Texas Tech's biggest impact. They brought in 21 transfers, and they had the number 2 overall transfer class in the country. They brought in Texas A&M wide receiver Micah Hudson, a former 5-star recruit, and 4-star running back David Bailey, Mississippi State corner Bryce Pollock, USC running back Quentin Joyner, UTEP corner Amir Boyd, Miami tackle Will Jados, Illinois State tackle Hunter Zambrano, and North Dakota State safety Cole Wisniewski. Each of those guys were at the top of their position in the portal, and so far they have come in and immediately elevated Texas Tech to the top of the Big 12. But how did this happen? Well, at this point, I've made a few videos on transfer portal classes and how NIL is a huge part of teams now, and long story short is that Texas Tech's NIL funding took a huge shot almost immediately with the help of Cody Campbell. He's an oil and gas entrepreneur in West Texas and a former player and alum of Texas Tech. Western Texas is one of the country's top exporters of oil, and that business has made Campbell a very wealthy man. Campbell had been involved in Texas Tech in multiple capacities for a while, and he was named to the school's Board of Regents in 2021 and became the chairman in 2025. He's also part of a huge renovation at AT&T Stadium, which is one of the coolest renovations in college football right now. He's the founder of the Matador Club, which is Texas Tech's biggest NIL contribution board, and this guy has had a huge impact. In just one calendar year, Texas Tech gained upwards of $49 million in NIL, all with the expressed intent to do what the Blue Bloods in college sports were already doing, which was to buy championships. It's the name of the game in college sports right now, and Tech found themselves in the perfect position to play into it. Campbell said, quote, "There are different times in college football where there is a change occurring that creates opportunity. I visited Nebraska recently. They got good when they figured out weightlifting better than anybody else, and this is our next opportunity to raise ourselves a tier and move into the top of college football." How has Texas Tech responded? Well, so far they're 9-1, with their only loss coming to an Arizona State team that played them close and beat them after Tech's starting quarterback got injured. They not only have a top 5 offense in the country, but they also have a top 5 defense in the country under both of their new coordinators. Baron Morton has thrown for nearly 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. Running back Cameron Dickey leads the Big 12 in rushing yards and touchdowns, and the linebacking duo of David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez is the best in the country. Brian Pollock is incredible with 4 interceptions, and overall, their transfers have just hit. They also brought back the important pieces of Baron Morton and Jacob Rodriguez, and it's just the perfect storm. They're 6-1 in the Big 12 with a win over the team in second place, BYU, and it looks like they're all but locked in to win the conference and make it to the college football playoff. If they continue to win, there's a chance they even get a first-round bye, but even just looking into the future, Tech has established themselves as a school that's taken advantage of the new landscape of college football, and they could definitely be here to stay. But what do you guys think? If you're a Texas Tech fan, what do you think of this year's team? How did all this happen, and which program should I spotlight next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.